or a daydreamer? One of my favorite quotes is, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." How beautiful are your dreams of your weight, health, and well-being future? Can you clearly see that vision of the body you desire? Is the picture in your head vivid and full of color, or are your dreams dull, uninspiring, and lifeless? Do you dream of a leaner, fitter, stronger, healthier body, or have you allowed life to stop you believing that your thoughts and dreams can be achieved? We all dream, however, we don't all dream equally. Some people dream by night and wake up in the day and proceed to plan and act and make their dreams a reality. These individuals are the ones you see running early in the morning, working out in the gym, eating healthy foods, for they are the dream makers. Some people dream by night and continue to only dream during the day. They go through the day wishing for their dreams but not acting on them. These individuals are the daydreamers. Are you a dream maker or a daydreamer? To dream is a wonderful thing. However, we must not forget that we have to wake up in the day and make those dreams a reality. Don't allow life, your past setbacks, or any negative thoughts you may have to resign your dreams only to your head. You can have that body you want, that weight you require. You can have that flat stomach. You can live that healthy, long lifestyle. You just have to believe and want it enough to act. Do and become the image of what you desire. For as a man dreams and believes in his heart, so is he or she. Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of Make Health Your Habit Live. You know, it's always a pleasure to be with you. I hope this Sunday afternoon finds you well wherever you are residing. And normally I have a few people all over the world tuning in, so at this point it's always great to hear from you. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you're watching this on Facebook, you're watching us on LinkedIn, why don't you just say hello and let me know how your day is going. I mean, these Sundays just seem to come around so quickly. It just seems like only just a couple of days ago I was here with you last week. And, you know, if you was watching the show last week, then you would know that we had a great show from Mo. Mo was absolutely wonderful talking about essential oils. So, Mo, thank you so much for your participation last week. Had lots of great comments from the show last week, and this week we have a really great show for you. I'm really pleased. I've got someone who I really admire who's in a very similar field to me, but we're going to tell you a little bit more about that as we move on. Good afternoon, Mr. Regular DJ, Mr. P. Good to see you as always on the show. I mean, he's Mr. P is solid as a rock. He's always here. It's always a pleasure to have him on the show. And Mr. P, I look forward to the Sugar Smash game with you this week. Hopefully Barbara's on and you two can finally sort out to see who is going to win today. But look, we have this show every single week. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ken Barnes. I am known as the Lean Mind Body Coach. I'm the author of the book called The Lean Mind Body Method. You'll see that book on the left-hand side of the screen there. The book details how I lost 50 pounds in 6 months, reversed my pre-diabetes and cured my sleep apnea, and did so many other things to improve my health and my life. And it was a wonderful journey, and I've had some really great reports from people reading that book. I focus on a few things. Primarily, I focus on helping people to reverse diabetes and pre-diabetes. I help people to lose weight, and I'll also help people to curb their sugar cravings. And I do that through low carb nutrition, which we're going to be talking about today, sleep, exercise, and mindset. And I absolutely love what I do. And for those of you who may not have seen what I looked like before I started my journey, let me just show you what I looked like before I started my Lean Mind Body Method journey. This Yes, so that's what I look like. Not a necessarily pretty sight, but you know, it was the journey that I went on changed my life, and Amy actually follows many of the principles that I follow. So it's going to be a really interesting show today, and we're going to be talking a lot about Amy's journey, women and fertility, and how you can improve your hormone health through our methodology. All right. So listen, hold on, onto your seats. I really think you're going to enjoy the show today. So we're going to be back very shortly with this week's edition of Make Health Your Habit. Yes, welcome to this week's edition of Make Health Your Habit Live. We're here every single week with different episodes focusing on aspects of health and well-being, physical and mental and emotional. And I'm just so pleased that I can share the stuff I share with you every single week. And I'm really excited about the guest I have with you today, because I know she's going to share some real nuggets with you. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me just introduce you to Amy. Hello, Amy. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you, Ken?
I am really well. Really great to have you on the show. I know I've met you on the app Clubhouse, and I've always admired your journey and what you're about and the knowledge you have to share. So I know you have some real great nuggets to share with us today. But before we kind of dive deep into your story, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So, hi, I'm Amy. I am a mom of 2.5-year-old, almost three twins. They're amazing and they're really my whole world. I'm the founder of She Ketos. So, I use the ketogenic lifestyle to actually find my way to finally being mommy to those amazing little toddlers that are sleeping downstairs because it's early where I am. Um, So I founded She Ketos to help other women on their journey navigating the ketogenic lifestyle, whether they are navigating for weight loss or for fertility, hormone balancing, finding optimal health by learning how to lower inflammation. I just really found that I want to work with women in just that way of allowing them to change their lives. So, working on the mindset. So, a big part of what I do is really getting women rallied behind the belief that they deserve everything. So, girls like me, girls like you, men like you deserve everything in this world. And I think that just needs to be a message that we have more of in this world. So, that's quickly what I do. I do a whole lot more than that, but that's the basics. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So I know you have an amazing story, amazing journey you've been on, your ups and downs. Why don't you share with us, just share with us your journey, and then we can go into a little bit deeper.
Okay, so I have always been my whole life. I was like the fat kid. Okay, so I was always that kid, and for a long time I made that okay. As a young adult and a young woman navigating dating and all those things, like I would always say, like I was fat. Like I knew I was fat, but I didn't really ever admit to myself that I was unhealthy. And I found ways to, in my mind, compensate. And I'm going to use air. I don't know if you can see my air quotes when I do that, but compensate because I always wanted people to like me, and I wanted them to see past my body. And so I compensated by being like just over the top sometimes, right? Over the top funny. And yeah, so I went through this life of not admitting that I wasn't unhealthy. I met my husband, we got married, we went on so many crash diets together that just hormonally continued to break my body. Going on hugely caloric restrictive periods in my life and then huge binging periods. And over the years of yo-yo dieting, I brought my body up to almost 300 pounds. And then we decided that it was time for us to start a family. And it didn't go so well. This is when I was really confronted with uh, my health. For a long time, when you don't necessarily have high blood pressure or I didn't even have prediabetes. Somehow, I don't know how that happened, but um, you become confronted in some way with your health. And for me, it was our fertility, not being able to get pregnant. And after years of struggling with that and trying to figure out how to heal my body, we finally ended up, me and my husband, in the ketogenic lifestyle. And through the ketogenic lifestyle, I was finally able to lose weight, keep it off, and lose weight in a way that wasn't painful or hard to stick to. We were really we loved the way of eating. And finally, we did our second round of IVF, and we had our two beautiful children. And that is really where it all started. And one of the things that's really important about this story is if you've gone through infertility, when you are every month getting that negative pregnancy test, the words that come into your head often is that I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this. Um, you dredge up like everything you ever did in your past that made you less of a human as a reason as to why now being a mom is being kept from you, why that thing isn't coming easy for you. And so after finally being able to bring my babies home from the hospital, my mind started to be like, okay, like maybe I do deserve things. And so I went on this huge journey over the last 2.5 years of, okay, so if I do deserve things, what else do I deserve? And I used my passion for health and the ketogenic diet, and I got certified as a keto coach. I'm passionate about mindset and helping people know exactly what they deserve and get to the root of why they might think they don't, so that we can override that message. Because when you know you deserve anything and everything, anything is possible. And then I started working with women going through fertility struggles and helping them balance their hormones and bring their bodies back into alignment. And then I started She Ketos because I realized there was a kind of a gap in the space where women could come to learn how to keto for their body, because our hormones make us just a little bit more tricky, um, as our hormones ebb and flow throughout the cycles. And so I wanted women to come and learn how to keto as a woman, how to make adjustments and pivots to support their hormones. And yeah, so that's where we are now.
Yeah. We're gonna go over a couple of those points here. But you was over 21 stone. I've just calculated that. You was over 21 stone. I mean, wow. What was being over 21 stone? I mean, yeah, I mean, I was 17 and a half stone at my heaviest. How tall are you, Amy, by the way?
I'm 5'9".
5'9". So you was 5'9" and 20. How was that affecting your health, first of all, when you were that weight?
I think the biggest things for me were energy. I somehow, like I said, I was able to escape the big scary one. So I didn't have prediabetes, and I don't know how, because I ate horribly. And maybe I just didn't go to the doctor enough to get diagnosed with it, because I avoided going to the doctor. I truly avoided going to the doctor. So my energy was really low, and then activity, right? I really struggled with physical activity, going up and down the stairs. Um, but I actually, again, like I don't think that I was what I would have called sick in any way until I realized how poorly balanced my hormones had become. And I know that if I had continued down those paths, the next thing that was going to be coming from that was going to be quite serious, because I teach the women that I work with that when hormones become out of balance, a lot of other health issues come behind that very quickly.
We're gonna touch on that hormones. So, you know, at that point when you were 21 stone, did you correlate that your excess weight with your inability to get pregnant? Was that an instant correlation, or did that come after?
That definitely came after, because I still had what I thought were normal-ish periods, so I didn't realize that that was an issue. Um, I actually was in a denial a lot about my weight because of there not being those red flags. So I was running around saying that I was healthy fat. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but I was like, you can be fat and healthy. These things can go together. Um, and I think in some instances they can, but I think also we don't always know what all the signs are that our body's out of alignment. And weight is one of those things, and I've come to really learn and accept that. But yeah, I didn't really correlate the two of them until I had the hormone workup done by my naturopath. Because I went to my actual regular OBGYN, and they ran my hormones and said, oh, they're fine. And when I actually went to a naturopath, she's like, they're fine if at 30 years old you want to have estrogen levels of a 50 something year old and try and get pregnant. And so it was really a huge eye opening experience for me.
Do you know there are so many women who are maybe trying to get pregnant, and this is why this is such an important message, who may not correlate the fact that they may be overweight, and that is stopping them because from getting pregnant. And this is why the work you do with women is so important, Amy.
hmm I think it's really important that we separate and say, I don't think that necessarily it's the weight that stops you from getting pregnant, because we can normalize some of the other things and still have the weight on our bodies, or most of that weight on our bodies, because it takes longer for our body to catch up to what we're doing on the outside of what we're doing on the inside. And so when we take action to balance hormones, when we take action to lower inflammation, to support egg quality, to balance the gut health, when we take all of those actions, you can actually have a healthy pregnancy at whatever weight you are. It's just that oftentimes when you start out of a place of carrying excess weight, not being aware of all those other things that are happening on the inside, that are getting in the way of you getting pregnant. So I really think it's important that in the work that I do with women, that we remove weight as the marker for your health. We can't put weight as a guideline as to whether you can or can't get pregnant, but we can talk about, again, those keywords: inflammation, hormones, and nutrient density in our bodies. Like, what nutrients are available in our bodies, and can weight play a huge impact in all of those things? Of course it does, but we can fix those things long before your weight gets back to this ideal place. I
Yeah,
like to think, yeah.
yeah, go on. Because the
Oh,
reason why I focused on this, because I've spoken to a number of keto coaches and low carb coaches, and especially women, and they do advise women that when you go on a ketogenic diet, if you're not taking contraception, then because it happens so often that women who have not been able to get pregnant, even if they're not overweight, they go on a ketogenic diet and they're able to get pregnant. I mean, I've always wondered why that is. You may have a little bit of a clearer reason why it is, because it does happen so often.
yeah. So there's actually this is a loaded question for sure, because there's a lot of things that happen when you go into the ketogenic diet. So one of the first things that happen when you start eating ketogenically is that our inflammation and our blood sugars normalize. So what does that mean for fertility? One of the largest disruptors of hormones in your body and that normal function of your sex hormones is actually how your body responds to stress and how your body responds to a high carbohydrate diet. So I love the roller coaster. I probably do this way more than I should. But what happens when we are eating a high sugar diet is that our blood sugar spike, right, as it should. And then our body starts saying, oh no, what is happening here? High blood sugar is dangerous. So it starts pumping out the insulin. And so then the insulin finally starts to work, and then things start coming down. But as simple carbohydrates do, they come down fast. Okay. They come down really fast. And then we have our bodies, the messaging our body gets from that is that we're dying. This is not a normal thing. And so we're pumping out cortisol and adrenaline and doing all of the things that our body thinks it needs to do to save our life because our blood sugar is plummeting so quickly. And when our body is doing that, cortisol causes inflammation in our body when we have too much cortisol at the wrong times. Adrenaline is causing stress because adrenalines come from our adrenals. Our adrenals are basically one of the main controllers of our hormone functions. So we're taxing our adrenals, and our body then has to choose this survival mode, right? Surviving this like multiple times a day roller coaster of sugar and carbohydrates, and it can't focus on making sex hormones. Okay, and so our hormones, our sex hormones start to tank. Our body can survive or it can thrive, and it's always going to choose survival. Fertility is found under the thriving. It's not necessary to our bodies waking up the next day. So when a system has to go, the fertility is one of the first ones to go in our bodies. And and so we have this stress response, which causes inflammation. Well, what does inflammation do? It causes issues with absorption of nutrients. So immediately through your gut lining, if you have inflammation, you are not getting the nutrients that you need into your bloodstream, and then your cells themselves are inflamed, so they don't have the ability to absorb nutrients, and this goes down right to your egg or your sperm. Okay, so if you meant to, right, this applies to you. So ketogenically, as soon as we are able to enter this space of this stable blood sugar, and our body's not having to pump out cortisol like crazy and our adrenaline like crazy, those organs and hormone factories can get back to making sex hormones again. And this happens quick. So when I work with a client with PCOS, um, when we follow my methods, I had a client who hadn't ovulated for over a year on her own. 3 weeks into my program, 3.5 weeks into my program, she ovulated. Just like, bam, it happened. Because as soon as we removed the things that were causing the obstruction, she ovulated. Now, there's still some things we have to work on because healing isn't overnight. But if you're coming from a place where you're only maybe you have it hasn't been a year since you've ovulated, things happen really fast, right? And so 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months down the road, all of a sudden, surprise, you're fertile. And it happens time and time again. And it's really an incredible thing, right? The inflammation comes down. We're eating nutrient dense food. This is one of the really cool things about the ketogenic diet. When we remove all of those empty carbohydrates, those breads, potatoes, rices, when we're just removing those from the diet, what we put in our mouth instead are things like meat, cheese, eggs, just packed full vegetables like crazy, packed full of nutrients that your body needs to thrive.
You know, I could listen to you talk all day because you're speaking just my language, and I'm just so passionate about the journey that you're on and that we're on, and my everyday is about trying to get so much more people to listen. So when you speak about you women being the best version of themselves, it's an essence of when they come on your program and when they change their health, when they change their body shape, they develop a self-confidence. It is amazing. And I've said that to a number of my clients, is that they've come and they've lost weight. Even myself, you know, sometimes when I was overweight, okay, I've never been a total wallflower, but I wasn't as confident as I am now, because you feel everybody's looking at you. Everybody feels, oh, look at that guy, he's overweight. And you look in the mirror and you don't feel attractive. But when you go for a program like what you give people, a low carb ketogenic diet, and you not only lose weight, but you gain energy and you just feel so vibrant, I can see how, you know, people become the best version themselves. And it's got to be such a satisfying experience when you see that transformation in people, Amy.
Yeah, it really is. So I like to start working with all of my clients at the very beginning on let's love ourselves now, right? We need to know that if we're going to truly heal our body long term, we need to love ourselves today. We can't let ourselves look in the mirror and no longer um, allow that feeling of disgust, right? Looking at our bodies and seeing the things that we don't like about our body. If we're going to have lasting change and we're going to make um, this lifestyle, like commit to this lifestyle and go through those first few weeks where we know it can be a bit rough and those carb cravings can creep up. When you're going to come from that place, we need to love our bodies right now, which means when we look in the mirror, we have to say, like, you're beautiful and you are beautiful just the way you
Mm,
are. And you deserve everything the way you are right now. Uh, if we just keep looking, if we say, when I lose 50 pounds, I'm finally going to love myself. That's not true, right? That's not true. Can we get a little bit more confidence? Maybe. But I can tell you that the first time I lost the majority of my weight, I got down to below 200 pounds. I was 199.4. And I thought that when I got below 200 pounds, there would be this like switch that went off in my head that said, um, oh, finally I can love myself. Finally, I can look in the mirror and love my body. But guess what? That didn't mean that. I hadn't done the work. And so I literally within 24 hours of that scale work, looking in the mirror and saying, well, I'm not that person I thought I would be, I ran back to my old habits and put 35 pounds back on really quickly because I hadn't done the work to love myself on the way down. And this is why I'm so passionate about women having someone to work with on this journey, because as much as we can know what the right thing to put in our body is, we need to love ourselves enough to continue to make that decision. We need to know that we deserve to have that body that's waiting on the other side. And when we don't have those things, this is when it's really hard to stick to a plan. And so for me, I put on 35 pounds and now I'm working my way back down again. I gave myself some time emotionally to learn uh, how to love myself. And now I'm creeping back onto that 200 mark again. And I'm ready to blow through it. I'm ready to, whatever my body does for me in the future is what it does for me. And I'm no longer putting expectations on it. I'm just going to eat healthy and wait for it to happen.
look, you know what's great about your story, and again, similar to, is it gives you empathy on how some people will feel on that journey, because we spoke about mindset in the beginning, and mindset is incredibly important on this journey. I mean, we talk about the reducing the sugar diet. That's fundamentally important, but what is as important is that mindset, and people need to change that mindset. And you need to change the mindset at a number of stages. One is in the beginning, because in the beginning you kind of accepted the way you was. In a sense, you thought you was healthy fat, and yeah, there are, for me, I think you can look beautiful and overweight. I personally don't believe you can be overweight and healthy, because you may be healthy at that point, but excess weight is like a fountain just waiting for ill health to be able to go into it. I think it's so important what you were just saying about learning to love yourself, because I have to admit, I went for a time when I didn't love myself. I really didn't like looking in the mirror, and I suppose this is where people start going down the excess road of being either anorexic or just kind of stuffing themselves and not caring, especially when they don't meet their goals. I'm interested. I don't think I've ever asked this question. How did you come across, first of all, a low carb ketogenic diet? Because for me, I came across it by accident. But how did you come across a low carb ketogenic diet?
I would probably also put it in the accident category. Uh, we had done, I guess, some paleo for a while and learned a lot about food nutrition through learning about paleo. But again, when you haven't got to this place of where you feel like you truly deserve or love your body enough, it's really hard to stick to things. And so there was a paleo podcast I was listening to, and after we had failed our first round of IVF, um, I dove back into those podcasts, and I ended up stumbling across I want the a low carb podcast, and it was recommended for me, and I started listening to it, and what they were saying made a lot of sense, and all I could do from there was to try and see what would happen and just trust the process and immediate results. Immediately feeling better, immediately more motivation. Like for me, always one of the most powerful things of this lifestyle for me, and which was an accident because I started it really to lose some weight, was how much my brain clears up when I'm eating ketogenically. How my anxiety that I struggled with, or I would even say struggle with, because when I go off keto, it comes back really fast for me. And that might just be the result of the extra cortisol. But my anxiety goes down and my belief in myself goes up. And so I just think the keto's magic. Like that's all I can say sometimes is keto's magic. Don't ask me why or how, but I know how. Like I can get into the science of it, but it has truly, like I know, like, can you say it saved your life? But for me, I say it made my life. Um, because
I
it
love
brought
that. I
me.
just come in there. I like that. I like that. Just say it. I love that. It made your life. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so at this point, like I'm down about 85 pounds, I would say, give or take. Sometimes water weight happens. Thank you, hormones. And I am at a point where I'm just going to feed my body how it feels good, right? If we can just get to a place where we can say, I love my body enough to feed it what feels good for it, and then I'm going to trust my body to do the rest. And instead of trying to force this on it, I'm going to move my body when it says it wants to be moved, and I'm not going to force it. You know, if I wake up one day and I want to be lazy, you know what? That's probably my hormones and stress levels getting too much. And so I'm going to respect it. And I think that's one of the most powerful tools that we have is learning how to listen to our bodies. And keto has brought that to me. It has removed so many of the outside food noise, you know, like watching TV and saying, you need to eat this burger. I don't watch that burger on TV anymore and say, I need to eat that burger. Whereas before it was the trigger, you know, let's go to McDonald's and get that burger. And so it's brought me food freedom in such an incredible way. Like I could go on for so long about how much I love the ketogenic lifestyle.
Look, look, I am just the same, and I suppose, I suppose that we can talk about that as well. Is that sometimes the frustrating thing for me is, so I've tried the vegan diet, I've tried the raw diet, I've tried the vegetarian diet, and they all have their benefits, but for me they weren't sustainable. When I look at a low carb ketogenic diet, it is now becoming so evidence based. It's undeniable. It is so undeniable. We're not just talking about people like myself and you speaking about the experiences. We're talking about clinical trials now are showing undeniable proof of the efficacy of a low carb diet. The frustrating thing for me sometimes, and maybe it's for you, I don't know what it's like in the part of the world you're in, is when you speak to individuals, they still have this negative perception about a low carb ketogenic diet. Maybe it's stemming from the Atkins diet or whatever. And you're doing something which you know can really transform people's lives. But yet they have this barrier up. As soon as you say low carb, as soon as you say keto, they think, no. And as soon as you say, reduce your carbohydrates, well, no, we need carbohydrates for energy. And it's, for me, it just gets a little frustrating. I do understand it. Whereby I know I have a methodology that works. It works. It 100% works. And it works for, you work with women, I work with men and women. And it really, really works. And you're speaking to someone who you know can benefit it, but for some reason they have this blockage through the false narrative they've been listening to. I don't know what your thoughts are around that, because I could just go on and on and on about that, Amy.
I I also like this is definitely a thing that is here where I am as well. And even with my clients in the fertility world, I would bring them in and be like, okay, we're going to eat ketogenically, and they would be, how do I avoid doing that? And I find it, they're willing, I can get them to low carb, but to get them to very low carb keto, there's this big barrier there. And I think what it's going to come down to is continuing to talk about our successes, continuing to get our stories out there and saying, this is what's working, promoting people to watch like movies like and documentaries like Fat Fiction, getting people out there to explore these ideas, because I think oftentimes we make decisions out of fear. And even for myself, when I was going into this ketogenic lifestyle, there was all of that noise still happening back there. I was still thinking, well, what about my cholesterol? And what about carbohydrates? And what is there wrong? And this, and my, like all of those messages were there. And I just kept having to tell myself, trust how your body feels. Your body isn't wrong. Your body is very intelligent. So if you go into a ketogenic lifestyle and your body comes back into alignment, your hormones start working again properly, your sleep improves, your mood improves. How is that wrong? You're right. Your body knows
Absolutely.
how to thrive. And I think that's really where going back to people and say, have you tried it? Have you seen what 30 days in this lifestyle will do for you? Because if you haven't, you don't have an argument here.
Yeah. Do you know, for me, part of my journey is a legacy for my mum. And I say that emotionally because my mum passed away because of a weight-related issue. And I was a health coach, and I couldn't help her to lose weight because I was using an outdated methodology. And unfortunately, I learned what I learned after her passing. And my mission is to try and avoid other people's mums and other people from not just passing away, but being unwell because of weight related issues. And within the community that I live in, the African Caribbean community, obesity and diabetes is rife. I truly believe that a low carb ketogenic diet is one way to be able to help so many people who suffer from the nefarious effects of diabetes and obesity. And I spend every day trying to convince them that this is the way forward. But the false narrative that they get out there about the diet is just blocking them. So, I hear the frustration, and I totally agree with you. It is just about being that example to what people are. I'm 58 years old this year, and I say that all the time because I know, had I not found a low carb ketogenic, I would not be looking the way I look. I would not be feeling the way I feel. I would not be able to fit in the clothes that I can fit in. So it's just so great when I have individuals like yourself on the show, Amy, who are advocates, who talk about losing 100 pounds or even 85 pounds, who talks about how it's affected your, not just your weight, but your confidence, how it helped you to get pregnant. So individuals watching shows like this can think, well, maybe. And I think there's an important distinction I just want to make, and you spoke about it, and that's the distinction between low carb and ketogenic. Now, we understand that a ketogenic lifestyle is absolutely great. We're talking about under about 50 grams of carbs, whether it's total grams or net carbs. And that's about producing ketone bodies. But the average person eats between, say, around about, say, 350 grams of carbs a day. But even if someone dropped it to even under 100 grams, which is in essence the top line of low carbs, their health can improve dramatically. I've had people just reduce their sugar cravings by just dropping their carbohydrates to under 100 grams. So if anyone's watching this, keto is absolutely wonderful. And if you have a metabolic condition, definitely. But just reducing the pasta, the rice, the bread, the fizzy drinks, you will see a profound difference in your health and your weight. Would you not agree, Amy?
I do agree. I think at any choice that you can make in your day, as you navigate a day where you choose not to put a carbohydrate in hydrate in your body, or like a simple carbohydrate in your body, you're having a positive reaction on your health. I think sometimes we can look at going into ketosis as this really big deal, but if you're at the convenience store and you're thirsty and there's a Coke bottle and a water bottle there and you just choose that water bottle, you've just impacted your health in a positive way. And if we can do that throughout the day, instead of, having a big pot of rice with your supper, let's make a salad on the side instead. You've just had a positive impact on your health. It doesn't have to necessarily be all or nothing. Can ketogenesis, being in the state of ketosis, really impact your health quickly? Yes, there is some really huge benefits to having those ketones floating around in your body, but you don't have to go there yet. You can just explore what it feels like to get off that carb roller coaster by keeping your carbs below 100 a day. Get off that roller coaster and see how your life changes, see how your response to food changes, and you're going to find a lot more health there from. I can tell you that there's been times in my life where 300 carbs a day was way less than what I was eating, because it was like the supersized Coke and the supersized fry. Like sometimes it could have been twice a day. And I think one thing that we want to talk about is when we choose to eat that way, we need to go back to that mindset and that respect that we have for our bodies. When we're struggling to love ourselves and respect our bodies, it's really easy to make these choices to eat food that don't work, that do not work for our bodies, that actually hinder our body's processes when we eat them, because of that immediate gratification by eating them. uh, we're getting that immediate like dopamine hit of all the sugars and the fats and the carbs, and that makes us feel good, even though we know it's not good for us. I think that a lot of how we eat when we are stuck on that carb roller coaster and making these choices actually are very addictive behaviors. And I think that we've talked
Mm,
about this a bit. I'm a recovering carb and sugar addict, and how that showed up was, um, a lot of it came down to the healing need to come from respect and love for my body where it's at right now, and no longer talking to it like it was something or is something that hinders me or makes me less of a person. And I think sometimes that's what weight can do when you talked about confidence. And so I really want to talk really quickly about this idea of deservance. So when we say, how many times do we navigate life when we think that we deserve a treat? Okay. Or we think that we're heading out, it's our birthday, so we deserve to have cake. Or and maybe you can have cake on your birthday, but like it's a hot sunny day, so you deserve to go get that nice cold beer, or whatever that thing is for you. We have this idea of deservance. And I really want to start thinking about, like, what do you actually deserve? Okay, you deserve to have a body that feels good. You deserve to have a mind that is clear and sharp and works well. You deserve to have energy to climb mountains, to do whatever activity that you want to do. You deserve to love yourself. And so I think that when we are on this healing journey, we have to change our perspective about deservance into deserving something huge, deserving to have a body that carries us through life in a way that allows us to have no limits. You want to go, scale the side of that cliff over there, Amy? Yeah, go ahead. I'm not doing that. Not doing that. But what do you deserve, right? And it's not that cheeseburger right now. That's like a trick being played by your mind. It's not that cheeseburger. It's so much bigger than that.
totally agree. And I think, as I always talk about that false narrative, I think we're sold this fast food culture. We're sold that it's okay. We're sold the fact that a calorie is a calorie. We know a calorie is not a calorie. The calorie from a can of Coke is not the same from a calorie, the same amount of calories from a cauliflower. We absolutely know that. And unfortunately, people have been sold this kind of false narrative, and they think, oh, it's a calorie, and then I can go to the gym and burn it off. It doesn't work like that. It really, really doesn't work like that. And the unfortunate thing about health for some people is, I always like to say, we're sick before we're sick. And carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates, are progressive in the way they attack our body. So we're eating it, and it may not manifest itself straight away, but it could manifest itself in 5 years if we progressively eat it, drinking 3 or 4 Cokes, and the pasta and all the sugar and all the sweets, and then it manifests itself in either pre-diabetes, diabetes, and in so many ways. So I always talk about preventative healthcare, and I truly believe one of the best preventative healthcare you can do is to reduce the amount of sugar that you eat. And in essence, what we do, Amy, which is a low carb ketogenic diet, by reducing the amount of sugar. And I'm so pleased you mentioned addiction, because I just recently had a client who managed to get off her sugar craving, and she didn't even go down to a ketogenic level, but she managed to get off her sugar craving, and it was one of the things she was reticent about going on a program, because she said, I just have a sugar craving. And I said, look, if you follow the program, that sugar craving will be gone, and it did, and she was so pleased about that. So if you're watching this and you're hearing us talking about a ketogenic or a low carb diet, just look at it from the perspective of sugar, because carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates, as I'm going to show you in the sugar smash game we're going to play in a moment, they all turn to a form of sugar in our bodies. And what myself and Amy are talking about is a way of reducing that amount of sugar that we eat in the form of just refined carbohydrates. And there are just so many health benefits, as we're talking about, that can go on. Now, tell me, Amy, the first question a lot of people ask is, okay, well, what do I eat? What do you eat, Amy? What do you eat? The kind of food do you eat? Or what kind of food do you get your client to eat? Is it lettuce leaves they eat? Do you have to eat? No. I thought, yeah, no. Okay, well, what kind of food do you have to eat, Amy? Can you
eat? So last night for dinner, I had a cheeseburger with a chaffle bun, and it was so delicious.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it was really good. And then I think that tonight for dinner, I'm going to have a shrimp Alfredo over noodles, just special noodles, not the palmini noodles, with that incredible like cheesy Alfredo sauce. It's so delicious. And then I think tomorrow on the menu is taco salad, which I'm super excited about. So really, you can eat exactly what you eat now with just a couple of tweaks. Now, there's a couple ways that you can look at it, but essentially, if you want to be in ketosis, if you want to be burning ketones as fuel instead of carbs as fuel, you want to just remove the carbs, and the easiest way to do that is just to remove the breads, the rices, the noodles, and some of the more sugary fruit out of your diet, and replace them with things that fit the lifestyle. So instead of having spaghetti noodles, palmini noodles are super delicious in this cream sauce. Instead of having the bun, we recreate chaffles, which is this delightful waffle-like thing that replicates just that idea of having the sandwich. And then taco salad, it's easy. You just don't put in the crunchy chips, and you are essentially there. And that will get you into ketosis. And can you complicate it more and talk about clean ingredients, dirty ingredients? Sure, you can. But if you want like 90% or 80% of all the health benefits keto has for you, just eat what you're eating right now. You make this meal for your family. Look at it and say, what on here is a carbohydrate? And just don't eat that part, right? Eat the lovely, beautiful piece of fish or chicken or steak that you made, the side vegetable, and pass off the potato to someone else. We don't need to overcomplicate this. There are some really good meal plans out there, but just starting simply by removing the simple carbs from your lifestyle and see the results that you get.
Absolutely. A truffle, I have never made that. I've seen it. I've never made that, and I'm gonna make that. I've never made a truffle.
Only the Wonder Bread. Don't do the other ones.
The Wonder Bread.
The
Okay.
Wonder Bread waffle.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to send me that recipe on Instagram because I love making a naked cheeseburger. I make that really really often, but I've never made a truffle. So, but if you send me that recipe, I'm gonna make that and I'm gonna post
It
that
changed my life.
Absolutely, I love the Alfredo sauce. I really do. That's absolutely for me. I make some beautiful meals, from pizzas to, as I said, some jerk chicken. I make even paella. I mean, it's just wonderful the breadth of meals that we can. And like to say, I've never had a boring meal. I don't. Have you had a boring meal on your journey?
Um, I would say yes because I'm lazy in the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes it literally is. I'm just going to take a piece of meat and roll up a pickle and some cream cheese in it because that's what I have time for. But like the food experience, all the flavors that you're looking for that you think that you might miss, like if you have time to cook, like not even if you have time,
Yeah.
because there's some really quick recipes that taste really good. Like this shrimp dish takes 15 minutes and it's like better
Wow.
than
I
restaurants.
love shrimp. Shrimp is lovely.
Mhm. And so, yeah, like I think, but yeah, if you're busy, sometimes there are boring meals. But like when you intentionally cook, no, no, every flavor is there. There's no flavor you're missing. Like we think of potatoes and bread. Well, I guess if you really love bread, that flavor, I haven't replicated that, but it's okay because
Yeah.
I know how my body's doing.
I made some bagels in a week, so I've got one more left. So I made some bagels with some poppy seeds, and for me, it was just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I do make my own bread as well, and it's actually a cake that I want to make in a week. So it is as near as I need to be to not feel I'm missing out, and knowing that I'm eating something that is not going to affect my health in a nefarious way. So that's absolutely great. Listen, if you have a question for Amy and myself around this area, then please put it in the message box, and we're going to play the Sugar Smash game in a moment. Yes, Amy, we're going to play that Sugar Smash game in a moment. So if you have a question for myself or Amy around this topic, because this is something that we both do, then please put it in the message box. We'll see if we can do it. But I think so far you've definitely made it clear the efficacy of a low carb diet in losing weight, in affecting a woman's hormones in a positive way. But more importantly, something we've never discussed on this show is how in the fertility aspect of reducing your sugar and going on a ketogenic diet, which I think is incredibly important. And because IVF, and or even if you do IVF, it can still not work. But I know there are lots of women who have never even had to do IVF. Just by going on a low carb diet, they've been able to get pregnant. So I think that's a real important point that you shared. So let's just move on to one of the fun parts of the day, of the show, I should say, which is the Sugar Smash game here. So Amy, you're going to play this with me, and
Okay.
you're going to just see how, just guess some food items. So, we're speaking a lot about sugar in this show, and on average we have about 1 teaspoon worth of sugar in our body, about 4 grams worth, maybe just a little bit more. That's the amount we have in our bodies at any one time, and as we know, sugar is toxic, and whatever happens, our bodies try through insulin, our pancreas releasing insulin, it wants to remove that sugar. But sugar comes in a number of forms, not just sucrose. Sucrose is glucose and fructose, but sugar comes in a number of forms. So when you eat bread on the screen, when you eat rice, it actually turns to glucose in your body, which is a form of sugar. When you eat fruit, you can see the bananas at the top there, that also turns to a form of sugar in your body called fructose. Now look, I'm not saying fruit is bad for you. What I'm saying to you is if you have a metabolic condition whereby you may have diabetes, for example, then you have to reduce the amount of sugar intake you have, because from our perspective, diabetes is a dietary disease. That's one of the causes in which you develop diabetes. So under those conditions, there are certain foods that you do need to either omit or reduce from your diet. And when you eat fructose, when you eat too much fructose, you can get fatty liver disease. In fact, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And when you eat too much glucose as well, it can also make you put on weight. And really, and this is the core message in what we try to do in a low carb diet, which is restrict the amount of fructose and glucose in our diet. But to do that, you obviously need to be aware of the sugar content in your food, and this is what this game is about, and just allowing you to understand that when you eat something, potentially how much sugar you're eating, because on average a man eats about is said he can eat about 9 teaspoons worth of sugar, and a woman about 6, but that is added sugar. That doesn't include the kind of sugar that's converted from the food you eat. So we're going to go through 3 foods. You're going to have an opportunity to use your Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you're watching this from. You can choose which option. So the first is about 100 grams of corn here, and we have 3 options. So does this 100 grams of corn contain 4 teaspoons worth of sugar, 5 teaspoons, or 7 teaspoons? You have to just use A, B, or C. You can use the chat on Facebook or YouTube just to guess whether it's A, B, or C. Corn is something I used to really love. I haven't eaten it for a while. I think one of the things as well, when I heard that corn doesn't really digest in our body too much. But you have 3 options here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere, and you want to get involved in this, then what do you think it is? Do you think it's A, B, or C? So Amy, what would you say? What would you guess this corn has in it? Would you say it's 4 teaspoons, 5 teaspoons, or 7 teaspoons? Now, I know you're a keto low carb coach. You don't have to know. I didn't know much of this before I went and researched it, Amy. So what would you say?
I'm going to go with probably B.
You're going to go with B. You're going to go with 5 teaspoons. Okay, well, let's see if anyone's going to join in today. But we're going to continue. We're going to smash this corn here, and we're going to see if it's A, B, or C. And Amy, there are 4 teaspoons worth of sugar in here. Yes? So I made it very tight. Yeah? But there are 4 teaspoons, approximately, just under, it's about 4.1 teaspoons worth of sugar in this corn, 17 grams. So corn is not something that we normally eat. Normally I try to get people, if they're on a reduced carbohydrate, then under 10 grams. And if they're on a ketogenic diet, then under 5 grams per 100. So this is not something that we would eat on a ketogenic diet. So, okay, so that's 1 down. Let's go to the next item. The next item, this is something that my mum used to eat all the time. It's called breadfruit. She used to eat it all the time. So you have 3 options here. It's either 5.5, 6.5 teaspoons, or 7.5 teaspoons in this. So my mum used to love this this food item, and it's a very popular food item in the Caribbean. So it looks like it's just me and you playing today, Amy. So remember, this is breadfruit. Yeah?
I've never seen a breadfruit before.
You've never seen a breadfruit before? It's a very, 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 very popular item. A really, really popular item. So
go with C.
You're going to go with C, 7.5 for this breadfruit. Okay. Well, just myself and you playing today. So let's see how many teaspoons of sugar in this breadfruit item here. Yes, I reckon it is definitely 6.5. 6.55. I know when you saw bread, you thought, oh, high, but yeah, it's still very high. It's 26 grams, so it's about 6.5 teaspoons in that breadfruit. Again, this is not something that we'd eat. And the final thing is something we call gunga peas. Now, this is a Sunday. Now, you can be assured there are so many homes that have been soaking these peas, because we eat something called rice and peas. So there's so many homes that would have been soaking these gunga peas overnight, ready for their Sunday rice and peas. And they have no idea the amount of sugar that's inside it. But we're going to show them today in 100 grams of gunga peas. Is it A, 10 teaspoons, B, 12, or C, 14 teaspoons? which one would you call it at, Amy?
A.
A. It's A. Okay. You say A. Let's smash it because it's just me and you today. Let's see how much. And people eat this every single week. Remember that. All right. And in this 100 grams, there are 12 teaspoons. That's 48 grams. I mean, wow, that is very high. This is something you know we would stay away from on a low carb ketogenic diet. But people eat every single day, and not every day. And sometimes they eat quite often, but on a Sunday especially, they would eat it with their rice and peas. So this section of the show is all about raising awareness. I mean, people have to make their choice about what they want to eat, but this section just raised awareness. And Mr. P came in with a C, and he only came with one today, but he definitely got that one wrong. But again, I just love this section, and each time I do my research, it just amazes me again the amount of sugar content that is in foods, and I just think people need to be aware. That's what we try to do. So Amy, if you just give me just one moment, I'm just going to go through a couple of things, share, and then I will come back to you in a moment, okay? Just one moment. So that's the Sugar Smash game. Now, if you've watched this and you want to, and you've listened to Amy, you think, well, listen to Ken, I love what they're saying, I just want to try some of this low carb food, then go to my website, kenmbarnes.com, and you can download this free 5-day meal plan. And it contains 5 meals. It contains one dessert recipe as well. And it has all the instructions how to make the meals. It has the shopping list. It has the macronutrient contents if you want it. And it has tips and tricks of what to do with the leftovers. It has some great recipes like curry salmon and jerk chicken. So just go to kenmbarnes.com and you can download this free 5-day meal plan recipe. And also now on the website, there is something called the diabetes risk quiz, which is incredibly important. I mean, it's not difficult. It will take you about 2 or 3 minutes to do. But if you go to kenmbarnes.com, and what happens, you can take this quiz, and what it would do, it would just kind of give you an idea of your diabetes risk factor. It's important to understand that. It's important really to understand, especially if you're coming to a certain age, what risk factors do you have when it comes to diabetes? And then, as I said, it's not scientific, but it's a fun quiz to be able to do. But, a couple people have taken it, and it has really sparked some kind of thought in themselves about how they may need to go and get their blood sugar levels checked, because most people just don't get the blood sugar levels checked until there's an issue. So go to the website, kenmbarnes.com, and take the diabetes risk factor quiz. And if you're watching this show on YouTube, I encourage you just to subscribe to the channel, because we have some great shows coming up for you over the next coming weeks and months. All right, so it's always fantastic. So Amy, that was absolutely great. So that was a Sugar Smash. That was easy enough, wasn't it? It really was.
Yeah, I got none right, but it was easy enough.
That does work. But, often people find it so enlightening about the sugar content in the food. So we do that every single week, and, it's fun and everything. And Mr. P said he loves breadfruit. Yeah, breadfruit is a real popular Caribbean dish. So, Amy, look, I think it's been absolutely wonderful having a conversation with you about a low-carb ketogenic diet. I mean, I'm an advocate about it. I believe everybody should at least adopt a reduced carbohydrate. Everybody. That's what I believe. Yeah, if you don't want to go ketogenic, then go at least to reduce carbohydrates. I believe everybody should look at the amount of refined carbohydrates they eat every single day and reduce that dramatically. Absolutely dramatically, especially as we move it up in age. And I believe, as you said, and as you're shown, I don't believe we should accept that, our weight and the way we are as a given. There is a way for us to be able to lose weight and become healthy and not sacrifice taste, which is what a low-carb ketogenic diet does. So, Amy, if you wanted to leave the audience with a tip or some final words, what would those words be, Amy?
So I just want to say, the name of this podcast is Make Health Your Habit. And so there's something in here, one of the words I want to hit on is your. Okay, so when you're making your health your habit, do the research, put things into place, biohack your own body, make changes to learn what makes your body feel good. So when we talk about the studies out there, and we talk about fertility, we're going to put these two things together really quickly in a little nugget. There are studies showing about how well the ketogenic diet changes the outcome of an IVF cycle. So it has a positive impact on the results of an IVF cycle, but people going through IVF are not put on a ketogenic diet in most clinics. And so it is our job at this point in the world that we do our own research, we trust how our body feels, and we make health our habit. And it really comes down to that action of like owning your health. Okay, no one else will know how your body feels better than you know how your body feels. So you need to make those changes to find your optimal health so that you can reach all of those things that you deserve in life, whether that's again like climbing that mountain or living well into your old age, being able to be active and enjoying life right up until 90 or 100, whatever that is. That's a big goal of mine. And it's a big piece of what I do is because I always wanted to live to 100. So now I'm going to figure that out a little bit late, but better late than never.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if individuals wanted to reach out to you because you specifically focus on women, and there are some fundamental differences when it comes to hormones, when it comes to a low carb diet. If they want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you, Amy?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at She Ketos. You can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called, again, She Ketos. And then you can also reach me by email on Amy, AMY, at sheketos.com to find out more. And I run keto challenges of every month. I launch a new keto challenge, whether it's a 6-week fat loss reset or a 100-day complete lifestyle overhaul, because again, I'm super passionate about changing how we think about ourselves throughout this process. And in 100 days, we teach you how to understand your hormones, understand your body as a woman, understand your thought processes. So uh, and that program runs about every 100 days. And then I do a fat loss challenge in the months in between. So uh, I would love for you to come join me, learn about uh, this lifestyle and how you can use it to getting a life that's limitless. I really am excited about this idea of living your life in a way that you're not limited by your body or your mind. And so that's a huge part of my process. It's mind body, very similar to what Ken does. I just do it for girls and women. So yeah, thanks for this amazing show and this opportunity to come on here and talk with you, Ken. It's been so much fun. And there's so much more that I could talk about, but we're running out of time. So if you do want to know more, again, reach out to me. I would love to help and support you on your journey to finding your life that's limitless, because you deserve everything. Just saying.
Absolutely, Amy. I mean, absolutely fantastic. And as I said, I love when I'm speaking to someone who's on the same journey as me, is as passionate about low carb and ketogenic living as I am, because we really realize that it can change people's lives. It really, I sincerely do that, and I love the way you're so passionate about what you do, and I love connect with you, and we're going to work together in the future. And also I know that we work together on Clubhouse as well, so really appreciate it, because I know it's early, and your co-moderators I haven't heard today, so they're sleeping, so it's really great to be able to speak to you without that. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, Amy. I mean, it's been really fascinating listening to you and hearing your journey, and I'm sure there are some women watching this and thinking, okay, this low carb ketogenic journey may be for me. And if that is you, I advise you to reach out to Amy. All right. So thank you very much, Amy. I'm just going to put you in the green room, and I'll be with you in just a moment. Okay. So really, thank you so much again. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Amy.
Thank you.
It really has been. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, another show, another Make Health Your Habit podcast live show. We have a vast range of guests here every single week. Next week we've got someone exciting coming in. I won't tell you just yet, but yeah, I'm sure you can enjoy the person we have. So we're here every single Sunday at 2 p.m. GMT. Thank you for everybody who's watched us today, everybody who's contributed us today on LinkedIn and on Facebook. We really appreciate you being with us. So, remember, if you the diabetes quiz, or if you want the 5-day meal plan, go to my website, kenmbarnes.com. And again, if you're interested in any kind of coaching, myself or Amy can also help you with that. And I have some exciting things coming in the future, which I will share with you. But I'll be back here next week, same time, I assure you, with another wonderful guest. So all that leaves for me to say is, I always like to say to you is, listen, there is no better habit than you let me start again from the beginning. There is no better habit you can develop than to make health your habit. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Make Health Your Habit podcast live show. Remember, the views and opinions expressed during the show represent those of our guests and host alone. We hope you enjoyed the show.